Welcome back to the news at 10. The Ogun State Governor Ibikole Amosun has challenged the private sector to invest more in youth development. The governor made the call in Abeokuta, the state capital, at the opening of a two-day convention tagged Exploring New Frontiers. The two-day event focuses on ways of making youth self-reliant.
This convention is coming at a time when the economic challenges in the country is throwing many, especially the youth, into a state of disillusionment. For Governor Ibikole Amosun, the event will seek to link the youths to employment with the right mindset.
Our focus at this youth convention is to show young people the many ways they could go. After this program, we will work with the participants on acquiring the skills, tools and support necessary to become employers of labor. Who knows? They may, as a result of this youth convention, be our future billionaires. To arrive at this envisaged future, we must assist our youth to translate commercial ideas into marketable businesses. If neither the public nor the private sector can employ them, we must help them to employ themselves. This is what we in Ogun State are set to do with this convention. This is the urgent task before us now.
Participants were charged to think right and live up to the 21st century challenges.
The world right now is too challenged for any other nation to have time to pay attention to your problems. It's our problem, and nobody is coming to solve it for us. That ownership of the problem will affect the approach that we take. Don't wait for anybody, and don't think about what somebody else hasn't done, not even the government, because your action can compel the government to take the right action, but only if you are thinking right and you act right in a way that you force the system to comply.
Some of the youth commended the state government for giving them a renewed hope.
The components of this convention seeks to address job creation, youth empowerment, entrepreneurial development, as well as agriculture. We can categorically state that indeed Ogun State youths have never had it better.
What participants may take home at the end of the convention is the belief that tomorrow will indeed be bright for them.
What's the relationship between food safety, public health and food trade? Now, that's what the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, and some of its partners attempt to unravel at a forum in Lagos today. Apart from UNIDO officials, the event was attended by top government dignitaries and private sector players in the manufacturing sector. Our correspondent Mary Alele Yusuf reports.
It's the first time the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, is hosting a discourse on food safety in Nigeria.
Agricultural processes and manufacturing processes in the country, Nigeria.
Expectedly, officials of the Ministry of Agriculture and Health are in attendance. They are not alone, however, as they are joined by their counterparts from the Ministries of Trade and Environment, as well as major players in the country's food production chain. UNIDO's representative from Vienna goes straight to the heart of the matter, insisting that food safety requires a multiplier and multi-sectoral approach.
We cannot achieve food safety if there is not a strategic alliance between all sectors of society.
Other participants, including representatives of the World Health Organization, also give their own perspectives on the day's deliberations. Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture, on his part, outlines common practices in Nigeria which he believes do not foster good health.
When you drive along and see somebody drying cassava by the roadside, doesn't it occur to us that as cars pass by, their emissions are settling on the grains? That when the grains are swept up and put in the bag for milling and consumption, bits of tar and cement get into the grains.
Reeling out figures, the Minister of Health gives statistical evidence of the impact of unsafe food.
Estimates show that about 600 million people, accounting for 1 in 10 globally, fall ill after eating contaminated food.
All that's being said here today may not mean much if the farmers who are at the beginning of the food production chain are not carried along. But the Minister of Agriculture explains how that will be addressed.
We have a lot of cooperatives, we have extension officers, especially with the new program that government has put in place. 30,000 young people are going to their communities to begin to educate farmers.
By the end of this conference, topics such as national and international food safety governance and industry development would have been discussed. And those speakers here agree that the problems are many. They say they are not insurmountable with the cooperation of all. Mary Alale Yusuf, Channels Television News.
Now let's take a look at some business news now. Here's Melinda Akinlami.
Welcome to Business News. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, is once again reassuring Nigerians that the economic recession will soon be history. A statement from the Vice President's office says government remains focused on improving the economy. This comes a day after the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udo Udoma, announced that Nigeria is targeting a growth rate of at least 7% by 2020. The Nigerian financial markets made history today as FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange signed a memorandum of understanding with S&P Dow Jones Indices, the largest global resource for index-based concepts. The FMDQ OTC also adopted the S&P Nigeria Sovereign Bond Index, which had an outstanding market value of 4.68 trillion naira. Our business correspondent Harriet Agbein has this report.
Next on the agenda.
Financial market dealers and analysts have gathered here for the launch of a strategic partnership.
This development is heartwarming as it signifies the determinations of FMDQ to actualize its strategic intent of endangering revolutionary changes that will promote the development of Nigerian over-the-counter financial markets and expose its potential for increased foreign investor participations.
For FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange, this partnership will create more visibility for the domestic debt capital market.
It's going to commit us to very high standards and integrity matters in what we do in financial markets and in FMDQ. So we understand the beneficiaries of this initiative to be investors, i.e. asset managers, general public, and very importantly, the buy side, the pension buy side, the pension fund managers.
The global head of exchange relationships at S&P Dow Jones Indices expects the partnership to define Nigeria's financial market.
This is our first exchange co-branding in Africa. We look forward to working with FMDQ to create new indices that define the Nigerian capital markets. In the months and years to come, I'm confident you'll all be learning more about the benefits of this partnership.
Speech is done. Next is a formal signing of the agreement. Now to the adoption of the S&P Nigeria Sovereign Bond Index.
The way I look at collaborations like this, it helps to empower the investor. I mean, the investors will have the opportunity to be able to express themselves and invest in products that are relevant to their own investment aspirations.
For FMDQ OTC Securities Exchange, this is the beginning of a larger vision for Nigeria's retail market. Harriet Agbein, Channels Television News.
Harriet also has details of how the stock market performed today as heavy sell-offs from consumer goods and industrial equities dragged the numbers further down.
Nigeria's stock market today extends the broad index decline recorded on Monday, this time by 55 basis points to 25,446.66, with a market capitalization of 8.76 billion naira. However, the volume of shares traded was slightly higher than Monday's, as investors exchanged over 207.17 million shares,
worth 1.57 billion naira in 2,791 transactions. 22 stocks led the trading day lower. In percentage terms, the leaders on that table were Forte Oil, Nestle, and PZ Cussons. On the other hand, 14 equities led by Better Glass, Caviton, and Presco posted gains. 3 financial stocks, Diamond Bank, Fidelity Bank, and UBA, saw the most significant volume turnover on the activities chart. Well, those are today's trading figures. I'm Harriet Agbenyi.
The world's leading stock markets ends mostly mixed today on a combination of latest company earnings and economic reports, as well as global political uncertainties. That's business news. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Melinda Akinlami.
The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board is asking operators in the oil and gas industry to remit their contributions to the Treasury single account. At an awareness forum held in Lagos, the parties concerned were informed about the practice.
Since the introduction of the Treasury single account in September 2015, operators in the oil and gas sector have been mandated to remit the 1% of every contract in the upstream sector into the Nigerian Content Development Fund account with the CBN. But this practice has reportedly been fraught with infractions, a reason why this meeting is organized.
People are still paying this fund into commercial banks. This forum, therefore, is specifically intended to provide a window for all entities to understand the channels for paying the 1% NCDF to the board. Thereafter, the board will embark on forensic audit.
Remittance is the bone of contention, and multiple parties involved clear the air on procedures of collection.
The provisions of this Act shall apply to all matters pertaining to Nigerian content in respect to all operations or transactions carried out in or connected with the Nigerian oil and gas industry.
So what the TSA has done is to put that arrangement in a way that at the press of button, government can say, this is what I have, and this is what I have.
But stemming TSA infractions goes beyond just awareness. Industry players say all loopholes must be plugged.
People paying the 1% into commercial banks. It shouldn't happen. Everything goes to central bank on the TSA account.
In theory, and I believe in practice, we shouldn't really still have those commercial bank accounts operating, yeah?
I think this forum is one of those platforms to continue to educate stakeholders, to say this is where you need to pay the money into.
Established in 2013, 70% of the NCDF finances commercial interventions, while 30% goes for developmental initiatives for the confidence and trust of operators.
Next on the news at 10, World Football Body FIFA slams Chris Skiwa and 4 others with 5-year ban from football activities. That's on sports. Please stay with us.